service animal. Her youngest, a toddler, also noticed and started to cry as he's scared of big dogs. He was in his vest and was laying down, calm as could be. Before I could begin the music for their first dance, she was at my music stand screaming at me that I was selfish for bringing Angel to her wedding, and I could have gone one night without having to be the center of attention, and I could be healthy for once and not eat so much sugar. She kicked us out before dinner or the slideshow, then sent me a nasty email saying I ruined her wedding and she expects me to pay her back for the missing slideshow and the music, even though I did her slideshow as a wedding gift and it took several days. I feel horrible I made her toddler cry, and I feel like a total butt for bringing Angel, even though I need him on a day-to-day basis. Am I the jerk? ETA for people asking about my diet. I have ADHD and can forget to eat for days. I'm also chronically underweight from an eating disorder I obtained from grades 6 to 11. I also struggle with object permanence. It's easier for me to remember bright candy than plain-looking pills. I think maybe in a way OP can be the jerk here still. I mean, the bottom line is they said that they didn't want the service animal there because obviously it terrifies the toddler. So in this situation, when they didn't account for your disabilities and your needs, and in fact did downright the opposite, I think OP just straight up should not have showed up. Spare them the service animal and let them know that you literally cannot attend because you're at risk of dying because they literally refuse to tolerate your disability. Our next story is, am I the jerk for not wanting to care for my nephew because of the way he's raised? I have a toddler and an older girl. My sister has a toddler. However, our lifestyles are not even similar, and to watch her son, I'd have to uproot mine, which I don't want to. I work a job with no official hours, just do the work and send it in, so I'm with my kids mostly. She works full hours and wants me to take in her kid. She offers pay for it, but it changes nothing for me. She has her son on a strict schedule with rules, but at the same time gives him too much reign. I'm the opposite. For example, she's strict on what he can eat, but she'll let him keep playing and chase him around with a spoon of food. I don't have a strict menu for kids, but when we're having a meal, we're all at the table. She wants him playing specific educational games, and I mostly let my kids do whatever and just use learning opportunities. They're not behind at all on knowledge. She doesn't want her kid out too much, worries about weather. I just prepare mine for the weather and we go out a lot. On the other hand, she lets him decide things I don't think should be up to kids. For example, if he wants to go to grandparents today and how long. I never force affection or things like that, but if we're visiting as a family, a 2-year-old can't decide not to or how long exactly. She just lets the kid say no and listens to that even though he, my toddler also, changes up yes and no to the same question 5 times in 10 minutes. They will literally plan to go visit them, which is a 2-hour drive, and get up in the morning. If he says no, they don't go. If he says he wants to an hour later, they go then. I tell my kids you can play separately at their house after greetings if you're not up for hanging out, but you're going. If we're out together at the park, she lets him drag her to go home. Then when he changes his mind, they go back. I don't do that. My younger kid sometimes mentions home. I say if we go, it means we're no longer at the park for today and we play inside, and they change their mind. Also, she wakes up much earlier than me and her son is on that schedule. Meanwhile, my kids and I wake up later, and I'd have to get up to watch hers. I've worked my whole life towards a lifestyle of not getting up early and not cooking all day. She has a specific meal schedule for him, no medical reason. I don't want to do it, and she won't change her son's schedule. So I rejected taking him in, and she's angry at me. The whole family thinks I'm wrong because they generally think I'm weird and my lifestyle is wrong. They don't think it's a real job unless it's morning to afternoon in office and I should get up early, etc. My husband is supportive of me, but again, we're married because we function well together. So I don't want to take that as a final verdict. Help, Reddit. So I don't think OP's the jerk here. I don't think OP really explained why they would have to be taking their kid in, but very clearly they operate on 2 wholly different wavelengths. And if you're taking care of your nephew for any extended amount of time, and their parents expect you to do their style of parenting, it's definitely not going to work out, so I don't blame OP for saying no. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Am I the Jerk Here story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.
New sneakers for the family, in budget, on trend, and all at DSW.
Would you be the jerk for calling your stepsister the ugly stepsister? We'll get into that in a bit, but first, am I the jerk for installing a doorknob with a lock on my bedroom door after I got fed up with people barging in one too many times? I, 21-year-old male, am home for the summer from college. Much of my time I've been playing games with friends and hunting for achievements after being unable to do so thanks to previous workloads. But I'm also doing some studying in between, along with helping around the house when asked and looking for summer work. No matter how many times I make it abundantly clear, my family still won't respect my boundaries. One important one is my bedroom. Even though I've said that a closed door is a very visible boundary, my parents, younger brother, and older sister, when she comes to visit, often just turn open the doorknob and barge in to ask or tell me about some pretty mundane stuff most of the time. It's mildly understandable with a slightly ajar or fully open door, but it's summertime, and in the late evenings we let in some cool air. But if they knock and I don't respond because I have my AirPods in, then they just barge in anyway. My younger brother is the worst of the bunch. He oftentimes goes into my room to tell me a mundane story about what happened at high school with his friends. And it's tiring having to remind him for the billionth time that I simply am not interested. Sometimes when I was away at college, he would have gone into my room and used something like a notebook I was keeping for notes, or my cardioid mic for a therapy session without even asking me on the phone. He doesn't even put it back when he's done, and I'm tired of literally yelling at him to stay out of my room and not touch my crap, because I don't do that to him. A couple of days ago, my brother barged into my room to simply hand me a snack I didn't even ask for whilst I was playing my game, which I was trying out with some R18 plus mods. My door was closed and I didn't even realize he was there, and I again told him, "Don't randomly barge into my room, dang it." Then yesterday we had a family gathering, and my brother proceeded to freaking tell people about the mods I'd been using to try and embarrass me. I was pretty dang ticked, even though I made up a story on the spot about how I'd accidentally joined an R18 plus game. I also told my parents when they asked me about it, and when my brother insisted otherwise, I essentially had to gaslight him into thinking he massively misremembered things. After that, I've decided I've freaking had it. I hauled my butt to the bus, went to Lowe's, bought myself a doorknob lock, and swapped it out myself. Earlier today, I'd locked my door and later heard a jiggle and then some knocks. It was my brother, and I told him that thanks to him, I had no choice but to install a lock on my door, which he then told my parents about. Dad lectured me about how I don't modify his house without permission, to which I shot back that nobody modifies my privacy without permission, and simply put in my earbuds. Since then, Dad's blocked my devices from Wi-Fi until we discuss logistics of my door lock, and I've been using USB tethering since. Am I going insane here? I don't really understand why this war is one that your parents feel the need to fight. Honestly, I think every teenager deserves to have a lock on their door. They deserve to have privacy, because let's be real, no matter how pure of heart you raise your kids to be and believe they are, things will almost certainly happen, and they deserve to have some privacy, even beyond just things going on. In general, I'm a person that values their privacy greatly, and I think anybody deserves privacy. What about just like when they're done with a shower? They go back to the room, they can't lock their door, they're at the mercy of anybody just barging in? That kinda sucks. If it isn't allowing them to put a lock on the door, next they're gonna look for something heavy enough to just block it. Really up the fire hazard situation. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to drive when my nieces and nephew wouldn't put on their seatbelts and making them late for summer camp? I, 26-year-old male, recently drove my nieces and nephew, 10-year-old female, 8-year-old male, and 5-year-old female, to their summer day camp because my brother had a doctor's appointment and I was available. Now, I'm very strict about safety in my car, and I especially don't tolerate anyone not wearing their seatbelt properly, and that goes double for kids. That day, my nieces and nephew decided to be difficult and refused to buckle their seatbelts. I refused to start the car until they did, and in the end I had to video call my brother at the doctor's office waiting room and had him threaten to ground them. We were 15 minutes late for camp. After the fact, my brother told me that he was frustrated with me because I made them late for no reason. He told me that we rode around in the back of our parents' pickup truck all the time and turns out fine. This is true. And that it was a short drive, so it wouldn't have been a big deal. He said I had a stick up my butt and needed to lighten up a little, that I have no right to discipline his kids, and he just called me a bad guardian in general. He's probably right that nothing would have happened, but I feel like he's being too dramatic about 15 minutes of lateness. Am I the jerk? I don't think OP can possibly be the jerk for dying on this hill of, hey, I made sure your kids were properly strapped into my car before I started driving them here. If he wants to go, that's no reason, by all means, maybe you should ask the family and ask them, hey, if his kids aren't buckled properly in the back of my car, is that no problem? Find somebody that would actually make them feel ashamed for saying that it's no problem that their kids weren't strapped in. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my wife's dad he can't come to our wedding? I'm Gina, 32-year-old female, and at my engagement dinner, my wife Zoe, 34-year-old female, made a toast to new beginnings. Everyone happily clinked drinks except Zoe's father. He just sat there with his arms crossed, staring daggers at me. I looked at Zoe, but she was too busy talking to her brother. 20 minutes into the dinner, I overhear a conversation at the end of the table where we sat the older people like our parents and grandparents. I heard my mother say, "Excuse me?" Then I heard Zoe's father say, "It just isn't natural." I asked what was going on, and the whole end of the table got silent. Zoe's father said he was happy for us, but that he doesn't like that I'm a girl. I asked him what did he mean by that, and he told me our whole engagement was a joke. He actually started to look around for some type of backup. I laughed and told him if he felt that way to not come to the wedding. He got very upset and told me I can't tell him what to do and he's going to go anyways. I put my foot down and said, no, you're not. For years, I had to sit and listen to him talk down on me and Zoe's relationship, but this time I wasn't letting it happen. But now I regret it because after the party, Zoe's mother told me that her family isn't attending because I told her husband he couldn't come. Now Zoe's extremely upset and has been crying since we got home. Am I the jerk for uninviting him? I don't think you're the jerk for not inviting somebody who is so intolerable to you and your existence. And if the rest of the family wants to pile onto that and say, yeah, you know what? Because you won't invite this homophobe, I'm not going either. It's probably for the best in that situation if they're feeling that way. This next story is, am I the jerk for taking a THC gummy at a Christian wedding? I, 26-year-old male,